So welcome in to this webinar on navigating bill of materials and product design data with the semantic layer. I'm David Rogers. I'm our lead at Databricks here for our industrial industry solutions. One of the big areas we are investing in, thinking about is next generation engineering and R&D. So if you've been a part of kind of Databricks, seen us at our manufacturing industry, talk at events, we spend a lot of time talking about our outcome map. But one of the key kind of sources of data is all around bill of materials, product lifecycle data. But before we get into that, love to welcome Mike Fowler from Kobai. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Nice to meet everybody. My name's Mike Fowler. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Kobai. So I basically run all things customers, whether it's identification of use cases, POCs, implementations. So I work closely with David and other members of the Databricks team to kind of combine the powers of Semantics with Databricks.
Excellent. All right, let's dive in. So we're going to start off here with something that's been going on, certainly in the automotive industry, but it definitely affects many industries. And this idea that what's going on in the world is moving faster than ever. There's certainly global trade issues and kind of supply chain. There's kind of a lot of different things for various, just governments around the world taking actions on a number of things that affects our industrial customers. So Nexperia, so there's so many different things that they supply in the automotive supply chain. But how are we going to respond? What are the things? But there's depending on which industry you're in, it could be in the food manufacturing. There's food dyes here in the U.S. that are causing changes to bill of materials. There's packaging and carbon footprint regulation that you're thinking about. How do we engineer a better product, lower carbon footprint? How do we improve sustainability of packaging? But it could be any sort of other issue that you have. Could be a quality or a warranty issue that might be cropping up in your business, unfortunately, that you have to go address and go figure out what engineering changes do we need to make. Could be an unfortunate recall or a safety issue that a regulator asks you to go look into, go take an action, get a response back in a timely manner. All of these things are time pressing, have things that you're trying to triage very, very quickly that places demands on your engineering teams where they're trying to also focus on new product development. So Mike, if you want to go next slide, please. There's little notice given. You're trying to figure out what sub-assemblies, where is this? You may not even have visibility in your supply chain to where this problem actually, the root cause may reside. You may not even know exactly which components. It may be a lot of components. It may be one or two very critical components. It may be some commodity that you can easily switch suppliers about. You may not even know what the root of the issue actually is. You may actually have to do some additional engineering work to evaluate what's actually causing this issue that you're trying to solve with a certain component or assembly. You also need to know, how much time do we have to fix this, both from a regulatory concern, but also from a customer concern. Your customers rely on your product every day to do their business, run their business, so they're asking about it. But sometimes you may be able to, you may have a stockpile. COVID hit not too long ago. Certain auto manufacturers were at more risk than others for that. And then, of course, what are my alternatives? What are the set of actions you can do? All of these questions and many, many, many more get asked whenever these events occur and become a massive, massive organizational effort to go address. So if you want to go next slide here, Mike. But to address them, you need a lot of data across many different data systems. I think the core kind of data system is the PLM system. but there's a lot of nuances in PLM. I'll touch on that in a second. Many of these things are housed in your ERP, right? That's your system of record for service and inventory and products. And then you also have your customer data. It's locked in some other system. Maybe, it's probably in your CRM. All of these kind of things to answer all of these different questions are things that you need to break down, put together, start to understand semantically what these things are. In the bill of materials itself, you don't just have one bill of materials, you have many. You have many across different product families. You have many across engineering and design to service to manufacturing. You have many different versions of these things. All of this is something that you have to, figure out at scale. How can you actually process this to answer these questions very, very quickly? So we'll show you here shortly a demo about how you can do that as you bring together these source systems into a lakehouse platform like Databricks, be able to manage different versions with kind of data storage technologies like Delta Lake, like all of these kind of things of how you want to manage ETL that data to prepare it. We'll talk about, please reach out to Databricks. We'll walk you through kind of different ways you want to do that. Each PLM system is different. Some are document based, some have relational databases, and a lot of nuances in each of these systems and which vendors you have at your company. So all things that you'll want to talk through with a Databricks solution architect to help navigate the strategy there. But you'll need to bring together multiple of these systems to answer any of these questions. Mike, if you want to go next slide here. And as you think through it, we're kind of here talking through conversational analytics today, regulatory risk reviews, obsolescence management. This is where companies are starting. You have to solve that data engineering problem first, and then be able to use AI tools. You have all these, great AI tools with chat bots. You can kind of ask questions, agent systems, all these various things that you want to kind of get after and apply to it. So again, we're going to show you that here in just a minute. But then as you think through your organizational data and AI strategy, and what you want to do with this product data, you want to start getting into being able to win new work by doing engineering bid creation. You want to be able to create surrogate models to make whatever you're making more efficient, more fuel efficient, use less energy. That drives that savings to your customers. Or maybe it's more aerodynamic if you're building something that flies or is in motion. You want to simulate. You want to find new design spaces, create new products, find new materials. All these different things comes from materials, product data that you're bringing together with other sorts of AI models and AI tools, and as well as other data systems to bring to life. So this is kind of also the journey that you want to go on by bringing this data foundation in place. So what we'll show here, and I'll turn over here to Mike here in a second, is start with this foundation of the PLM, the ERP, or CRM. Bring this data in, maybe know how to model it, bring it into Databricks, and then be able to use the power of technologies like Kobai to build that semantic layer to answer and do conversational and virtual agents on top. So Mike's going to take you through the Kobai technology, how they think about this, building out this semantic layer. If you're in a Databricks, longtime Databricks customer, we talk about this as medallion architecture. Think of this as your gold or your kind of platinum layer to then structure the data so it's ready for these conversational analytics and virtual agents. So Mike, over to you to take us away.
Thank you very much. So again, we're just going to start a little bit about just the power of semantic graph in industrial settings. As David mentioned, we're going to be looking more at regulatory changes and the bombs or the different products that may be affected and bringing information together from like a PLM system, ERPs, etc. But there's lots of other opportunities for semantic graph in industrial settings. So that improved operational efficiency that we just talked about. So being able to streamline processes simply by stitching together a lot of information from different systems or different business functions to optimize that data processing, so allowing you to reduce downtime, act more effectively, enhance data integration and analytics. So again, unifying all of that data together, cross-functionally based on how the business users think about it. Smarter decision making. Um, Again, you now have all of your information that's in context. Predictive maintenance, supply chain optimization, and accelerated innovation. So again, you can foster new solutions and automate complex tasks, using machine understandable knowledge. So you can effectively create some digital twins, whether that's at a particular asset or in this case, a particular process. So how does Kobai Semantic Graph deliver value with Databricks? So first and foremost, our graph is deployed within your Databricks ecosystem. So our graph lives within Databricks, and we inject the business context into Databricks. So not only is we're adding a semantic layer, but it's within the environment that you're already working with, and we're making that data understandable, not just by the data engineers, but also by the business. And more importantly, as we look forward into AI, all of the AI agents and LLMs, et cetera, that you may be using to move ahead with your AI initiatives. How do we do that? We create a flexible and reusable ontology. So we're empowering the subject matter experts to effectively build an ontology in a codeless fashion. So they don't need to know they don't need to be a Databricks expert, but they can essentially, using our studio platform, which we'll look at a little bit later in the demo, um, construct an ontology which represents their operations using their terminology. So it's as simple as, like, if you're in a team meeting room, drawing on a whiteboard and connecting all the dots between how products connect to BOMs, to which parts, to which suppliers. So they're building all of that business logic, and we're putting that power in the subject matter experts, and then we're stitching it together with the data that's in the Databricks environment to fully contextualize that data. So as a result, we can get faster business insights. Not only are the business teams empowered to do more self-serving without the need of technical resources to maybe go and do SQL queries or create additional pipelines, but they can start using the graph technology themselves and codelessly build some answers to some of these questions to get more insights. And then also, we can also empower and spin up agents, Genie spaces, etc., using all of that context that the business users have put into the ontology. We can feed that into those systems to bring them up more quickly, kind of the accelerated ramp, and bringing in all the semantic context that provides them the ability to provide uh, more accurate responses. And then again, scalable AI. So that kind of what talks into what I just talked about. Again, we're in there with the Databricks system. We're bringing all of the context or the semantic context to the graph, and then we can build Genie spaces, or we can leverage agent bricks to build a multi-faceted agent that's going to go out and span all of these domains and bring back answers to what may be a very complex multi-business function question. At the end of the demo, we're going to actually take a look at where we can empower agent bricks on top of Genie spaces that have been built and populated with all the semantics in the graph. So how do we do this from an architecture standpoint? Again, here's kind of the Kobai plus Databricks architecture. So in the pink here, we have the Kobai Studio product. This is where the business users can come in, make that semantic model, that ontology. The one nice thing is that it's flexible, so it doesn't have to be built all day one. It's meant to grow with the business. So you can start small with a couple of use cases, build out the model, and then continue to expand it. So this is where the business users can go in and build that logical foundational model. Then we have all of our enterprise data, whether it may be coming from PLM systems or ERPs or maybe CMSs or vendor management systems, et cetera, that you already have your existing pipelines into, that you may be feeding into a bronze layer within Databricks, either through Databricks document processing, if some of the information is coming from PDFs, for example, or maybe you have existing pipeline jobs. However, some of the data may not already exist in your Databricks environment. Maybe there are some systems that you haven't built the pipelines for yet, or maybe there's some external data. So through the Kobai platform, we can also connect to some of these external systems. Maybe it's a web service that's providing regulatory information in this particular case. Either way, within the Kobai Databricks combination, we now take that semantic model. We can marry it with the data, again, whether it's sitting at a bronze level or maybe you have a silver level where you've done some work. We can basically model it with the semantic layer to create that gold layer or that platinum layer in the medallion architecture, as David provided before. So now not only is your data already organized, but it has all the context needed to provide LLMs, AI models, build visualizations, etc., empower agents, all within the Databricks platform. So now we're going to switch into a bit of a demo and see how all this works. So demo is going to be looking at navigating the operational impact of regulatory changes. The slide's got quite a bit of information on it, so I'm just going to do a quick highlight. But essentially, as David mentioned, the business problem is that a regulatory change can impact lots of areas within the business and lots of systems, whether it be PLM systems, ERP systems, maybe HR systems. If you have tasks that are going to have to be done, you need to make sure you have the right people, vendor management systems. As a result, there can be delayed responses while you stitch together all of this information or go find the right people. There could be hidden risks. Maybe there's things that you're not aware of that you overlook as part of your data assembly process. And then as a result, you can get escalated costs. Maybe you miss some SLAs and there's penalties, or maybe there's just hidden spend that you don't know. So what we're going to look at in this demo is essentially how putting a semantic layer on top of your data can easily build a 360-degree view of an upcoming regulatory change kind of at a whole. So we're going to look at all the upcoming regulatory changes and how they're going to affect us at our various sites and countries, which suppliers are going to be impacted. And then we're going to do a deep dive into a specific regulatory change. So we're going to select one of them and we're going to get more granular, detailed information. So which ECRs may be impacted, what assets are going to be impacted. And then we're going to do a cost analysis. So how much material cost, how much labor cost, and then from an implementation, do I have enough parts? Which suppliers do I have to reach out to if I don't? What labor is going to be required? So we're going to build a 360 view leveraging semantics and stitching together very much cross-functional information. So I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment and move over to my demo. And let me share again. Hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Looks great.
Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that through Kobai, we bring all the semantics to Databricks. From a consumption perspective, there's multiple ways to consume the data. I mean, I talked about agents, but we can also, obviously, executives, especially like visuals. So we have the ability to visualize within the platform itself. You can use AI BI dashboards, or if you're a Tableau or a Power BI user, you can use those platforms as well. So in this particular case, I'm using our built-in visualization capabilities. So again, here we're looking at all of the upcoming regulatory changes, how they're affecting the different countries, which suppliers are going to be impacted, which sites are going to be impacted around the world. If I want to drill into a specific regulatory change, again, this is going to affect a smart sensor. I'm bringing up a nice little image. I'm bringing up the engineering change requests that are required. I'm bringing up, again, the assets kind of broken down by site. I'm bringing in our cost of change. So how much labor cost and how much material cost is going to be required. And then finally, from an implementation tasks, here are all of the tasks, the people, the effort, as well as the number of parts required for this particular ECR that's required for this regulatory change. So which suppliers and how many of each of these parts are going to be required. So again, this is kind of that 360-degree view, deep dive, bringing together all of that cross-functional information into a single pane of glass so you can get an overall view of the regulatory change and how it's going to impact our operations. So how did we get here? Oh, let me get this annotated in my way. And hold on for 1 second. Zoom's causing me grief. So how did we get here? So this is the ontology that we've created. So here we're looking at domains, whether they're business functions such as manufacturing or product management. I should mention that this ontology is a little bit bigger than the use case, so it can be used for ideas of where you can expand across the enterprise and bringing in like quality assurance and regulatory. But each one of these domains contains information or different classes of information. So again, product management. I have the concept of a product. A product has properties, manufacturer date, serial number. So I can set up the properties of a particular instance, but more importantly, I can talk about how it's related to all the other classes. So again, this is navigating just if you were, as I mentioned earlier, on a whiteboard within an organization or in a team meeting. I'm now putting all of this logical model together using the terminology that I use with the business. So a product is made up of components. A product is exposed to regulations. They have product life cycles. So again, this is the terminology. So this is essentially a logical model of my operations that I'll then stitch my data to. So again, from the data stitching perspective, if I look at my product, here's where we've mapped all of the products, whether it's sitting in, again, a bronze table, or maybe a silver table, or maybe it's coming from external systems that'll eventually get brought into the schema that we build within the graph, within the Databricks environment at that gold layer. So some properties can come in from a single data source. Maybe you have multiple systems. So other of these properties can combine information from, maybe you have 5 different versions of SAP if you're a large organization. So we can bring all of that information from each of those instances together and normalize it. So now we have a single layer, our single semantic layer spread across all of our data sources. From there, again, from a business user perspective, they can become a little bit more self-serve within the platform. So we can start building questions. Here are all the questions organized by domain. So maybe I just want a count of all of the part numbers that are going to be impacted by regulatory changes by suppliers. So as you can see, this question's been graphically created. There's no need for anybody to get in and become familiar with the inner workings of Databricks or SQL queries or Sparkle queries, which is a graph query language. They can simply navigate the ontology and select which properties and which relationships they'd like to include as part of the output of their question. This one's simply doing a count of part numbers by the supplier. So once I've built my question, I can preview it. Here's my results, but I can also publish it as an API or as a view within Databricks. So now, again, I can connect my Power BI or my Tableau or my AI BI dashboards to it and visualize it. Or as we'll get into, we can start doing things like building up Genie spaces and putting agents on top of it. So now that we've looked at this, we're going to get a little bit more into the background of what this looks like on the Databricks side. So again, each one of these domains, so here's my regulatory domain, we've created a few tables and views that are basically going to represent the semantic structure. So again, this regulatory change is going to have the names and the descriptions. So we bring in all of the context from the ontology, we marry it to the data to build these views and tables within Databricks. So again, then we can start building visualizations or BI dashboards, or using our SDK, we can import or we can create a Genie space. So again, I've done an import of our SDK. I've done some authentication. I'm saying domain whitelist. So I'm going to want to create a Genie space against all of the concepts within my product management domain. I initiate the Spark session, and then I create the Genie space. So again, I have this Genie space. All within a couple of lines of code, we have this Genie space that can be spun up for us. And each one of these tables, or each one of these views, I should say, I bring on all of the semantic descriptions. So now I'm telling Genie, based on all of the semantics that my business users and subject matter experts have put into the ontology that they built within the Kobai platform, I'm bringing all that semantic information and automatically pre-populating with the Genie space. Not only that, for each of the columns, I'm bringing in all the semantic information for them as well. So I'm talking about how particular values relate to other values within the ontology. From there, I can ask Genie questions, or I can go that next level. I can build an agent. So here's an agent that I've built that's touching on multiple Genie spaces as various agents. And then if I put it into a playground, I can ask a very cross-functional question. So which parts are going to be used by the ECRs due to regulatory changes that are going to happen in the next 12 months? And based on the BOM updates that are going to be required, how many parts are going to be required, by when, which suppliers are going to be effective, and most importantly, how much is it going to cost me? So that's a very complex cross-functional question that's being asked. I throw it to my supervisory agent. It goes out to my various agents. So it's going into the technical information to get information about the regulatory changes. It comes down here, and then it goes into my supply chain information. So I'm now pulling information that may be coming from my ERP. I'm back to my technical information to gather more information about some bombs. Excuse me. And then finally, my external information, where I have information about my vendors and my customers, for example. So let's bring in customer. And at the end of the day, it provides me a nice summary. So Again, here are all the regulatory changes that are going to be happening in the next 12 months. So this CE mark conformity directive, for example, there's a few instances of it between April and October of next year, depending on the country. But here are all of the parts. Here are how much it's going to cost me, and here are all of the suppliers. So now I've sent this question off to an agent that's now leveraging all of the semantics that's been provided or all the context that's provided to my data to provide very informed, contextually accurate information back from the query. I don't know, David, do we want to open up for questions?
Yeah, that was wonderful, Mike. Thank you so much. I think Mike is highlighting here just the incredible power of being able to bring together, Databricks, we call this data intelligence, right? You have to bring together the semantics, the ontology. Kobai's helping you build that. You're able to activate every kind of persona and department within an enterprise. And then now with all this amazing agent technology that's being made available at scale within the Databricks platform, you're able to ask that really complex question that Mike just asked there. If you want to, Mike, you want to pull up that last slide.
Yep.
Then you can one shot this kind of really complex question that would take you weeks or months to answer internally and create a lot of distractions for the engineers, again focused on new product development and things that trying to drive the business forward from building new capabilities and new products and getting them into customers' hands. So we wanted to, thank you all for being here, taking a look at kind of how this kind of tells that not only that, get value out of bringing this data in to respond to kind of question of the day, but brings you on that journey, that agentic journey of the future, and setting that foundation up within your business. So with that, we have Kobai's available in the Databricks marketplace.